Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at the M26 Pershing, the 6.3 medium tank for the USA. And this is one of my all-time favourites. I absolutely adore this tank. It's got so many good attributes that can really work, and there's a lot of sort of negativity about it, I find, at least in the wider community, and a lot of people, I've even heard people say it should be compared directly to the Tiger and should be 5.7, which is a little bit silly to me. This tank, spaded at least, it really fits the battle rating perfectly. It's a really good machine. That being said, the stock grind for this thing really isn't that fun. It's quite slow for a medium tank, and the standard AP shot can be quite underwhelming, especially if you're an up tier. So I can understand the grievances people have with it, at least from an entry standpoint. You've just got the tank, it's not going to be that fantastic. But it's really worth your time in getting it spaded. I really think this tank is one of the best, most fun medium tanks you can play tier for tier in the game. You've got really effective armor, you've got good mobility when you've got the upgrades, and you've got a really devastating gun. And I really do enjoy this tank. I've got two games today that kind of showcase, I think, two different playstyles. One of them goes a lot better than the other one, but this tank can be used adaptively as a sort of brawling tank and as a bit of a flanking tank. In a straight line you can reach about 40 kilometers an hour quite easily, and it really leads to some good versatile games you can have with the Pershing. But that being said though, the reason why this video took quite a while to make was that I'm kind of toying around with the idea of changing the games that I show on the channel. Like, I don't know if this is something that you would like to see. It's something that I actually want to ask you guys watching right now. As a content creator, I can literally just pick and choose any match that I want to showcase a vehicle as, and they can just be, like, if I play like 20 matches, for example, I can pick the best one, and like that could mean the other 19 were really poor. So would you guys like it if I showed one good game, which is showing the aspects of a vehicle working correctly and working well, and then maybe show one other sort of mediocre game where things go wrong, but there are reasons to describe why things went wrong, like what mistakes I made to cause me dying. I don't know if some people would like that a bit more. Like, I don't know if people want to watch content of sort of failure. But at the same time, because there's such a sort of distance between videos at this point, I want the wait to be worth it, and I want the videos to be as helpful as possible. So if that's something that you'd like to see, please let me know, and if not, please let me know as well. But anyway, I'll stop rambling now. I will get into the lineups that I've been using for 6.3 America. So this is my lineup. I like to have the Bulldog in, as even if you're in an up tier, it does work quite well as long as you're using it as a proper flanking tank. The gun isn't really very good now, but it is a scout tank. It's got the lower light tank spawn cost. So if you're on a map where none of your other tanks really work quite well, this can be quite a good option if you want to flank around the map, or use the scouting ability to get yourself into a plane, or just hassle the enemy team. It can be quite good for that. If you have it, the T28 is a really fantastic 6.3 premium tank. Nothing can really penetrate it frontally, bar a couple of tanks at 6.3. And even so, you're generally not going to be seeing or running into things that can just go through your armor. You are going to be quite a nuisance for most tanks you're going to face. It does make people quite annoyed with this one. If you don't have it though, using something like the T25 or even the Jumbo, would be quite a good backup for the Pershing, just in case. The same gun on the T25 can still work pretty well. There's no other choice for SPA really, apart from the M19. It still does its job really well. Since the guns fire interchangeably now, you do have a really high rate of fire, and you can kill quite a lot of unsuspecting tanks as well, which is quite fun. I do really enjoy this one. For another TD, the Jackson is always a good option, as it's got a lower spawn cost, good mobility, good turret traverse, and the 90mm, so you're always going to have an effective gun most of the time, which is pretty good. I can't really recommend a different tank other than this one to fill that role. For your aircraft, the Bearcat and the P-51H are what I'd go with. The Bearcat, just because you've got the versatility in being, good at turning, and like in the theatre of like a tank match, you're good in that area. And you do have two bomb drops as well with the 3-1000s or the HVARs if you want. I like to go with the bombs. And for the P-51H as well, because most of the time, or not most of the time, but sometimes you will be up-tiered into sort of jet combat, and you're going to need something at this tier that can at least be somewhat competitive with them, especially if they're, turning, shooting ground targets. You're going to need something that can catch them, and this can do that. And it can carry the standard Mustang ordnance options as well. So let's get into the games. Right, so the first match today is 6.7 on Fields of Normandy, and we're against Russia, Germany and Japan. And what I like doing on this map, at least early on, is go on this side of the sea point just south into the tree line, as it's got the most cover, and if you're in the right place you can easily sort of see out of the tree line, whereas not many people can also see in. I notice a STA here quite late. Luckily I fire before he does, which could have ended the game a lot quicker. I think this is quite a good spot, at least early game, because you don't really know where the bulk of the enemy team is going to end up, and this provides ample cover from pretty much all surroundings, as well as being in the middle of the fight almost, so you can easily adapt to shoot people to the north of C, to the south of C, back from the spawn, or go towards A if there's no real enemy presence around. So it provides that versatility and that cover in this spot early on, as you know, no one can really see me in here unless they're directly looking, and most of them probably aren't doing that. So I'm just sitting at the back of here to make sure that I can clear C out before either moving down towards B or just staying here for the rest of the match and stopping people coming back from the spawn. So I don't know yet, I don't know how the match is going to flow, and this is a good spot to just wait to see what's happening. So I'm just kind of trying to skulk up to the edge of the tree line here, give myself a better view, and I see something on fire there, so I assume that that's where he is, provided that's where the engine fire was. But I missed completely. I'm not sure where I missed, but anyway, it's T-44-100, 34-100, excuse me. Easy shot to the side, he's not looking at me, and easy kill, really. This is going to be more of a flanky match. It's not really going to be taking many hits, so I'm just going to try and put myself where people aren't going to be looking and still be in a situation where I can put fire onto other people. Which is something that I really like the Pershing for. It's really adaptable in that you can be a brawler, or you can use it to flank, because you do have quite a good top speed in a straight line, and it's just good. I think it's a really versatile machine, really. Killed a Wellborn there, not really much to say about that. At this point, since somebody is capping C, I can go through A up to B, because quite a few people, as I'm looking there, have actually capped at the B point, and I'm assuming more people are around there as well, so it's a better option to go over there and try and engage them before they go down to A. You know, one of them just has, as opposed to just kind of waiting to see. Now something has just killed the friendly at the C point, so instead of turning around, I'm just going to turn my turret back, because he's not going to be looking for me, he's going to try and cap, he's going to be looking back at the spawn. And I just catch a glimpse of something there, just moving. I fire, sadly don't get the one shot, but I do get the engine taken out, and just lining up for where I think the centre mass is going to be, and he dies as soon as I pull the trigger, but you know, no matter. He's out, and the tanks coming up from our spawn can cap the C point, so I can just make my way up to A, which is now getting capped, well, now has been capped rather. So I'm just using the bushes here, biding my time to just make sure that I'm not going to drive side on to anything, as I've got the time to take to make sure. I can see something moving along the tree line there, so I'm just going to wait for him to drive out. That's another T-44, go for the centre mass, take him out too, and pull back for the reload, and just checking around me just to see if anything else is moving up, as I don't want to drive onto the cap just yet, just in case there are more tanks around, as I don't really want to draw their attention. So I might as well skulk around the edge, just have a look first, just see where everything is, and then make a decision. So I know there's still something on the A point now, and the only place he can really be is over here. And he doesn't know why I'm on the cap point either, because it's not depleting because we're both on it. So I have the opportunity to just go behind where I know he is and take him out too. Now I know there's a T-34 up here that I spotted earlier, and I don't know where he is. I can only assume he's on the borderline somewhere. So again, I'm going to use the bushes to just kind of wait and see where he's driving from, or at least where he's trying to flank. And I see the tracks there, and I think, oh, he must be right in front of me, there's no other place. Let's take him out too, so he was, I think, just waiting for me there. Sadly didn't see me through the bushes, well, sadly for him anyway. So I'm going to keep pushing up. I'm getting strafed by the planes of the tanks I've already killed, so I'm pretty much indisposed. So driving straight out into the open here probably isn't the best option I have. However, at least there's not really many tanks around anymore. Most of them are either in planes, there's only going to be a few left on the ground. So the good thing about this area of the map is that you have lots of sort of squares almost in the bushes, so it's hard for people to get an accurate line of sight on you. So I'm using them here. I'm using this one to go in between the spawn and the B point, just trying to see if there's anything else left, as I know there is a tiger earlier who hasn't died, who is putting some fire onto the tanks at A. And I see some green tracers over there in the tree line. I see him shoot, and I know roughly where he is. I'm just going to poke out from behind this tree, use binoculars to get the sight in, aim a little bit too high, but do go right underneath the turret, which is a very nice lucky shot there. Now this is basically the end of the match. There's not much else to do, so all I'm really going to do is just sit at the edge of the forest here outside of their south spawn and clear anyone else up. You know, I don't like spawn camping. I don't think it's very fun. But at this point in the match, there's nowhere else for me to go. B is going to get capped by the heavy tank we've got there. A's fine, C's fine. Somebody's already covering the north spawn there. The only place they can come from is this spawn. There's no point in me waiting, you know, hundreds of meters back just for them to drive out of the spawn, especially if they are in SPA, which they are. So it's just a case of waiting for them, really. It's not really any impressive kills. You can see a Panzer 4G driving up there. He's not really going to be much of a problem, so I can wait for him to drive out. Eventually, as this 43 spawns up, just strafe him, and the 4G follows suit. Sort of seems to be floating upwards there. I don't know if that's just a weird perspective thing, or if he actually is floating. My ping's going a bit weird recently. But anyway, this is the rest of the match, really. It's just chipping this last guy away, and there we go, 9 kills. It's a pretty decent match, especially for 6.7, but I didn't really run into anything that gave me much trouble. So the Pershing can be used like this. It can be used relatively as a flanking tank. You do have a deceptively high top speed, at least when you're spaded. So if you do have the mods, this is a good way to play it, in my opinion. You can get some really good games at playing it in a bit more of a cautious flanking manner. Anyway, on to the next game, which is a bit more brawly, I guess. So this match is 6.3 on Abandoned Factory, and we're mainly facing Germany and Russia. So I'm pushing up with most of the team towards C here. It's where most people go, and it's a position I like. You can hide behind this indestructible wall here at the end of the factory and just corner peek and just see what's coming, and you can really use the spots to your advantage if you know what you're doing with binocular shots to aim over the walls and not pushing out too quickly. So I can see an Ersatz M10 there in the copse of woods, and he's not really going to have a shot on me for quite a while, so I'm looking around the corner here and I can see an IS-2. Now, I don't want to die early on, so I'm just trying to ascertain whether he can see me or not, and he can't. So I'm going to use binoculars to hit his cupola there and land a pretty solid shot right in there and take him out. That couldn't have been very fun for him. So I'm just going to pull around the corner here. Don't want to do anything silly with the Ersatz. I don't think he can see me, but it's not really a risk I need to take at this point. He does get taken out. So, looking at the map here, most of the team is around the C point, and most of their team is obviously not around the C point, as there's not much fire going on. So I'm the top tier tank, really, and most of our team is comprised of very squishy soft tanks who aren't flanking very much. So they're not really going to be too useful against the rest of the enemy team, which is, you know, Panthers, T-34-85s, and Tigers. You know, they're going to be a bit of a disadvantage. So me being the top tier tank that has good armor and good gun, I should really be sort of the spearhead of pushing down towards the B point there. I do knock out an Oblivious Tiger, not really much to say about that. This is the end of people not really noticing me, though. Actually, I'm going to start getting shot at quite soon. And, well, as I push down towards the B point with most of the rest of the team. But this isn't really a good map for the team composition that we have. It's mainly very squishy things, like I said, like Shermans and Hellcats against teams of quite stoic Panthers and Tigers who can use a map like this a bit more effectively than, well, a team of Hellcats who aren't flanking can. So I don't want to push out in the open. I want to push in between these silos here just to make sure that I can limit the directions that I'm going to get shot by as usual. And I just want to be a bit cautious with it, because I know that if I die, the team aren't really going to have many tanks that can brawl around this setting. So I'm trying to be cautious, but also get there relatively quickly. But I don't want to make any small mistakes that are going to get me shot, as it would be a bit of a death for the team, as they are already getting quite chipped away. So I'm going to move in with this Challenger here, as he's in front of me, and he's at least a dummy from the left there. If he gets shot, I know there's something there. I can see a Tiger pushing up here. I get a bad shot, he misses, or misses a critical shot, hits the front plate. And all you need to do for this Pershing is slightly angle the front plate and it's completely immune from the Tiger. Get slightly low there, get the transmission, not quite what I wanted. And we are going to get a shot off at roughly the same time. I try and just go for the front plate there and just miss, go through the lower plate, but do get the one shot and he misses a critical hit again. So I'm going to push down this side here to the west of B. The Tiger 2P has been taken out, and I'm just going to try using the Challenger as a kind of a buffer to see if anything's coming from the east or the south. I can kind of at least protect some of the team from this spot here, from the tanks coming from the south spawn and up from the A point, just to make sure that we're not going to get completely swarmed from every direction. So I'm just checking the corners here. I don't want to make a stupid mistake already again. And I'm going to hug this wall here and just try and stop the flurry of tanks that are going to inevitably come up from this point, as, well, I know they are going to. So right in this corner here, and I can see a Tiger coming up. He has no idea I'm here. And I didn't think for some reason that he would actually see me as I poked out here, but he does. He reacts very quickly. But again, I am ever so slightly angled, and it's too much for the 88. Right through the front plate, another one shot. I take a shot from an 85 there, he bounces, he's shooting through the wall, so he couldn't really aim a good shot there either. So he's hiding behind the pylons. I can't really get a good shot off on him here. So I need to reverse here. I know there's another tank there as well, there's at least two. One's fired again. So I'm going to poke out, just try and take one of them out. I can see movement there. I try and work out where the side is of the Panther, but I can't do that. I've hit the front plate. I can see a Panther F behind me there, sadly. So I'm reversing at an angle. He does scuff the shot and hits the side, and I can use binoculars again to get a shot. Sadly, again, don't hit the crew compartment, just get the engine, and I am on fire. Go for the Tiger, get the slight angle of the front plate there, one shot him again. And another tank's come from the front, so that's two behind me and two in front of me. I try and whiff his shot with the 50 cal smoke, doesn't quite work. But since my loader hasn't died, I am just waiting to hit the Panther here and not putting my fire out. Don't again get a critical hit, only get the loader and machine gunner. Bounce a shot from the front there, there's a lot going on, it's very hard to commentate over. Put the fire out and try and get the reload again to take out the Panther. The other one's still burning in the background, that Panther gets taken out. And now I can turn my turret round and try and take out some of these tanks here. But I do have a slower reload, so it's not going to work out too well. I survive another hit from the Panther here, but there's nothing I can do. He's going to get me, but I try to get another shot off from the T-34 to score a 7th kill there. And that was a clip that I've wanted to include just for the reason of it being a massive sort of cluster of things happening, but I think it's quite enjoyable just to see the Panther, or the Pershing's armor work so effectively, and it was such a fun match to play as I was getting shot by two tanks on two different sides and surviving for most of the engagement, only leaving one of them alive. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that that little clip there. As you can see, the armor on the Pershing does work. It only takes a little bit of angling to be immune from the German 88, and a little bit more to be immune from the Panther. A lot of people sort of underestimate the Pershing's armor, I think. So you can, if you are poking around a corner and someone's looking at you, you can poke out with the front plate, even slightly angled, and they will more than likely bounce. The lower plate is a bit of an easy shot, but most people don't bother going for that. You know, they're playing Germany most of the time. They're used to shooting center mass, and that's exactly what they do. And most of the time, they fail. They're not used to the Pershing really being angled. I think I do watch a lot of people in games that I play using the Pershing, and they don't angle very much. They just go straight on. And again, it's like I was saying earlier. It's like it's a really famous machine, and like the renown that comes with things like the Panther, the Tiger, and the Pershing, people think they're a bit invincible, and I think that kind of plays into the mind a little bit. But you are going to have to angle, and if you do, the rewards are fantastic. You are immune from your hull, from anything bar the 122 or the long 88. And in situations like that, you are going to need to be a bit more adaptive in combating those units, and you can, because you have really good reverse gear. Your speed is good, and you have a good reload on a really powerful gun. You know, you don't need to use it anyway, but if you do, you have the option of the really powerful APCR that you can take out King Tiger H's with. And again, it's not something you're ever really going to use, but you have that option as well. And this thing works really well on urban maps like that. It has the ability of having a really deadly gun and good armour to peek with, so you can sort of position yourself behind a wall or behind a road, poke out, you can take a shot easily and drive out, dish a shot back out, and even if you miss, you have a really responsive reverse acceleration to just get out of danger, and you have a quick reload for the caliber of or how powerful your gun is to get right back into the action. And that is a really good set of attributes that a tank like this can have. It's a really, really good brute tank. And at the same time, you can use it as a flanker, like I showed in the first game. As long as you know exactly where you are spaciously relative to where the rest of the enemy tanks probably are, and you are using soft or hard cover, like tree lines, hills, anything like that, you can just push yourself in a straight line to reach 40 kilometers an hour and get yourself into a spot where no one's really paying attention. And the good thing about the 90 is that it's just so powerful that if you have a side shot on anything, it's most of the time going to die, unless you're quite unlucky on the Panthers like I had earlier. But most of the time, you are going to just easily knock anything out. So what you do have is the really good gun, the really good armour for a medium tank as well, like relative to the spawn cost, you have the armour of heavy, really. And maybe not, that's a bit of a stretch, but you know what I mean. And you have the good mobility as well, it's all there, it's a good package. The downsides really are that if you are stationary, you are a bit sluggish. Especially if you're stock, the stock grind on this thing can put a lot of people off. So that is a bit of a problem. You can get overwhelmed a little bit easily. And the other thing is just if you are completely up tier to 7.0 and above, I mean, at that tier, you are in some cases fighting tanks that are a bit more squishy, but you are going to get into territory of fighting T-54s, King Tiger H's, IS-3s, like IS-6s, things like that. And this does struggle then. You can't easily take out things from the front. And the mobility isn't really that great because whereas there are squishy things to fight, but they're also a lot faster than you, and they're a lot easier. Well, most of them have stabilizers. These are, well, maybe not stabilized, but you know what I mean. They're a lot more adaptable in firing on the move. The 906, things like that. You're going to be facing things in an up tier that this thing can't quite deal with. So that is a bit of a strike against it. But at the same time, you can just use something else in the lineup. If you have this in a 6-7 lineup, it's still going to do okay. And you can use something like the Ontos, the Scorpion to deal with up tiers. So this tank is a really good staple for the BR it's at least 6.3, 6.7. It's going to work really well, provided you can kind of work out what map you're on and what BR you're at and who you're fighting. If you know your enemy in this, you can work the tank to its advantage really well. Over in up tier, you can play a bit more of cautiously, a bit more flanky. Don't drive out and take the brunt of the fire. But if you are at 6.3, you can easily do that. Because if you're facing Germany at 6.3 and even Russia, even though they do have a lot of, they have the Tiger 2P, things that you are going to struggle a little bit against, and the IS-2 Mod 44 as well, the bulk of the team is going to be Tigers, Panthers, T-34-85 and IS-2s, and they are really squishy compared to that 90mm, so you can really dish a lot of damage out with this tank, and I really like it. I think it's really good. And with all that said, I think I'm going to rate the Pershing an 8 out of 10. There we go, guys. Really hope you enjoyed. Again, sorry it's been a long time. I say that every single time, and I think I explaining it every single time as well. God, I'm going to start double barreling on that in a minute. But anyway, the reason why it's taking a little bit of time is just because I'm trying to work out how to make these videos a little bit better, in that I know there's a long gap in between each one, so I want to make it really worth it and I want to make them really helpful. So I'm trying to kind of work around structuring it a little bit differently, in that maybe showing like a bad game and a good game, or also having a little segment at the beginning, like a quick fire do's and don'ts kind of thing. Do you think people would like that? So like, do these things and don't do these things, like kind of bullet points. So if someone wants like a kind of bite-sized bit of information on the vehicle, they can watch that and then have a better idea of what I'm doing going into the matches afterwards. Do you think, like, do any of you watching think that would be a good idea? If so, please let me know, because I'm kind of struggling on how to structure these in the future. But anyway, I will stop rambling, and thank you so much for watching, guys. Really hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.